Boys and girls, welcome to another rendition of Mr. Ray's Real Estate. How y'all doing out there today? Hope everybody's doing okay. We are ready to get this thing started today. Hope everyone is feeling good here in Oklahoma. We had a little 65-degree temperature, which was good. And so we are excited and ecstatic about having some good weather this week. So we can get back to work, but everybody get back to work. So let's get this party started here. We've got a little ground we want to cover today. And so what I want to do today is I want to talk a little bit more about this wholesale business. And really, the key to wholesale business is being able to get properties at a discount. If you're going to be successful in this real estate game, you're going to have to get discount property. And so what I have decided that I am now going to be a specialist for getting pre-foreclosed properties. That's what I'm going to do. When I first started in this game, it was all about going down to the tax commission and getting tax certificates. That's how I got my first 5 properties. I was buying people that were behind on delinquent taxes. I got in there and I learned that system and I learned it very well. I learned how to use it and I became an expert at it. So now I'm becoming an expert at doing pre-foreclosed properties. And I want to teach you how to be an expert. So let's get this thing started. Y'all ready? You hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, let's go. So ground rules, everybody stay muted, ask your questions over in the comments. And of course, give me your feedback. Disclaimer, anything that I say and do cannot be held against me in the court of law. So help me God. So if you try to sue me, I'm gonna say, no, Your Honor, I read them this disclaimer. All I am is an opinion leader. I gave them advice. I gave them strategy. I didn't tell them what to do. I said, here's what I do. So there's my disclaimer. Now we got to start with a Rayism. I got a good one because this one hit me right in the face. And so maybe it'll help you too. So this Rayism is, you may not get what you, in fact, let me just back up again. You may get what you want, but you may not like what you get. Oh, come on, somebody. You know, sometimes you want something so bad. And, you know, it might be that spouse. It might be that new car, that house, whatever it is. You want it so bad and you're praying to the Lord to give it to you. And you just can't wait till you get it. But then sometimes when you get it, it don't always turn out to be, baby, what you thought it was. And now it comes with issues and problems and concerns. And now, Lord, I don't even know why you gave it to me. So be careful what you want, because it may not turn out to be what you like. Come on, somebody, let's get into this thing. So today our agenda is going to be pretty clear here. We're going to be talking about, I want to go through and I want to describe the wholesale process because I think there's some confusion. So now, if I'm going to make you an expert in buying foreclosed properties, you need to understand the process, okay? So I'm going to describe it in detail. We're going to walk through it to get you a clear understanding of the foreclosure process. And then I'm going to talk about the 2 ways that we're going to be getting foreclosed properties. One is we're going to be cold calling. That means we're going to call them. And then the other is we're going to start this letter writing campaign. So that's what our agenda is going to be for today. And let's get this party started. So when we're talking about the foreclosure process, I need to define that there's 3 different types of foreclosures, okay? And you may have heard me talk about this before. The first kind is the pre-foreclosure, and that's the ones that we're going to be going after. And a pre-foreclosure starts whenever the owner of the property gets a notice from the bank that they are at least 90 days behind. That means 3 months behind in payments, okay? And at that point, there's going to be a legal notice filed against the property. It's called a les pendens, and it's basically notifying everybody in the world that wants to know that this property is being foreclosed on by this bank for this amount for missing these payments. It's going to be very, very clear why they're foreclosing on the property. So that's pre-foreclosure. That is, it ain't been foreclosed on yet. As pre is what it says. It's before it's foreclosed on, okay? Foreclosed means that the property is actually sold by the sheriff to the highest bidder for 2/3 of the, starting at 2/3 of the value. So that means that the property actually went to the auction, and the auction is where bidders get to show up. You and me and anybody else get to show up, and we get to bid for the property, and the highest bidder wins. And foreclosed property is when that sale is completed, and when that sale is finalized, that means that property is now been foreclosed on by the county of whatever you live in, county of Oklahoma. Now, when they go to the county and when they bid on it, everybody's bidding on it, the winning bid has to, within 24 hours, I believe, has to go and put down 10% of the winning bid. For instance, if they won the bid for $100,000, within 24 hours, the next day, they have to put down $10,000 down at the county as earnest money that they're now going to be the rightful owners of that property, but they ain't got it yet, right? All they're doing is saying, you were the winning bidder, you put down your 10%. 3 to 4 weeks later, there's going to be another hearing that's going to finalize that. So even though the property sold to the highest bidder, the owner of that property still has 3 to 4 weeks to reclaim that property. And the only way they can reclaim that property is paying off the entire amount that they owe the bank, plus interest and penalties and attorney fees and all of that, okay? If they do that, they can reclaim the property. If not, within 3 to 4 weeks, that property is going to be, a hearing is going to be held, and the judge is going to say the rightful owner is the person that bid it the highest for the property. After that final hearing, the judge is going to issue a deed to that property to that winning bidder. And that property now, anybody that had any other rights in that property, they had been extinguished. At that point, the new rightful owner has a sheriff's deed, and that deed gives that owner the right to the property. Now, there's also another type. So we talked about pre-foreclosed, before it's foreclosed. We talked about foreclosed. Once the winning bidder wins, it's foreclosed. Then there's what we call post-foreclosure. And these are sometimes called REOs, right? Real estate owned. That means that the bank has bought the property back and is now the new owner. So the bank actually showed up for the bidding process, and they outbidded everybody else for the property, right? So they now have the deed to the property. A lot of times, once the bank takes the property back, the bank will then list it for sale on the MLS with the realtor. Now they're just trying to sell it and get as much money as they can. Usually the only reason they do this is because they don't feel like the bids were high enough to pay off the loan that was owed by the owner. So they go in, they try to bid it up. It doesn't get up to where they want it, then they'll just simply take the property back. Let me stop right there and ask, are there any questions on the 3 types of foreclosures?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Hey, what is my watch talking about? Any questions at this point? Pretty clear as mud, right? All right, let's go on. So why, Mr. Ray, Reverend Real Estate, the bank, AKA the bank, why are you focusing on pre-foreclosure? Okay, let me explain to you why. Because what this is for me is an opportunity to help homeowners who have no other option, right? They have no other options than to pay the full amount that's owed on that property. And if they're behind 3 months, 6 months, a year, they don't have the money to come up with it, right? They didn't have the money to make, they didn't have the money to make the monthly payment, so they sure ain't got the money to pay off the full amount. And these are sellers, in my mind, these homeowners who need to sell. That means they're very motivated. Remember, one of the keys I told you about being able to get wholesale properties, you got to find motivated sellers, right? They need to sell those homes for some reason. And these pre-foreclosures, they really do. A list of these properties is readily available any and everywhere. You can get it down at the county. We get it up through a service called PropStream, where it has all the information right there for you to get. Whenever a person is foreclosed on, that is a public filing. Just like if you go down and get married, that's a public filing. If you get a divorce, that's a public filing. I can go down and see who you married, when you married them, all that stuff. When you buy a property, that deed is recorded, that's public. So these lists of properties on these pre-foreclosures are everywhere because it's public information. Again, it's out there in the public domain, and all you got to do is know where to go find it. And the only thing you got to do is you got to convince these owners that you are the best viable option for them. That is, you can get them out of their problem. You can offer them a solution. You can buy this property off of them, take it off their hand, because for the most part, it's a problem for them. And of course, for us buyers, it's an opportunity to purchase off-market properties with equity. Come on, somebody. That's what we're after. We're looking for properties with equity. We're looking at a property that we can buy 50 or 60% of what the aftermarket value is, okay? So we gotta be getting properties at discount, 50, 60% of the ARVs. That's what we're looking for. So that's why, for me, I'm gonna make my goal and purpose and mission in life is just focus on pre-foreclosures. Now, a lot of people say, man, well, you're limiting yourself. You're not going after probate. You're not going after bankruptcy. You're not going after all these other type properties that may be there. No, I want to focus. I want to be good at one thing. And I'm going to be very good at this because I've proven that I can get these properties. And so now I'm going to really start refining my my skills and my process to be able to get this done. And I'm taking some people along with me. People that are with me in my platinum group, they're going to be coming along with me and helping me with this process. And they're going to get the fruits of the benefits. All right. So let's talk about the timeline for pre-foreclosure. It could take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years from the time that the petition is filed, the less pending is filed, to the time that it's actually sold at the sheriff. Sometimes it takes as little as 6 months. But let's go through the process and let's look at what this pre-foreclosure process looks like. So day one, when I know that a property is now in foreclosure, I can go down and get a list and where the owner has been notified that they're at least 90 days late on their property. This is what we call the notice of petition, a less pending, and that's on file down at the county. So depending upon what state you live in, they may call it something different. But here in Oklahoma, we call it a notice of petition or less pending. So they've been at least 90 days late. So once that's filed, what the attorneys do, the attorneys that work for the bank, they go in and they do a title search, and the owners of record, they receive a notice of this less pending that the bank is foreclosing on you because you have not paid your monthly payment, okay? So whoever the owners of record is, they will get a certified notice from the attorney saying, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you are 90 days late on this property. If you don't bring this property current, we are going to foreclose on this property because we have a lien on it. When you purchased this property, you took out a note from the bank. You may have put 20% down. The bank has 80%. They now have a lien on the property. You're not paying you're not meeting your obligation. You're not doing your end of the deal. So they're gonna, in the documents that you signed, you gave them the right to foreclose on your property. So they're notifying you. But not only are they notifying you, they're notifying anybody anywhere that has any interest in this property that they are foreclosing on it. And if there's any other liens on this property, they're saying, you better stand up now and forever hold your peace, because we're going to foreclose and take this property back, and whatever lien you had on this property is going away. So what they're going to do is they're going to notify any heirs. Let's say the homeowner died, and that's why the property is going into foreclosure. They're going to notify all the heirs. They're going to know that maybe the owner has a delinquent taxes. They're going to notify the tax commission. Maybe they took out a second mortgage. They're going to notify the mortgage company. Anybody that might have any interest in this property is going to receive a certified notice saying that we, the bank, are foreclosing on this, and whatever interest you have on this property is about to go away. Okay, so they'll notify them that. And they give the interested parties an opportunity to answer their petition. That is, oh, no, you can't take this property. They owe me $20,000. They might owe you $80,000, but they owe me $20,000. Okay, that's fine. You put your answer in, because we're going to foreclose on this, and your 20 is going to go away. So everybody that has interest in the property, let's say a brother, sister, an uncle, aunt, niece, whatever, say, well, Uncle Joe said that I could have that property. Well, you got to file your response and get in line, because the bank is going to be foreclosing on this property. So after all the interested parties have responded and everybody's come to the table, a final judgment is going to be rendered by the judge as to who's the rightful owner to the property. And so the bank has the deed. They say we're in first position. That means everybody else can get out of the way. So the judge will say, okay, we're going to enter this judgment. The bank is awarded possession. Bank, what do you want to do? Bank, we want to sell it to the highest bidder. All right, let's get that set up. And so the judge says, then go out and get an appraisal. They send an appraisal company out there. They appraise the property. They never even go in the property. They just look at the properties. Much like we do when we're doing an ARV, we'll just look what properties are selling around there. And a lot of times they don't even do a real good job of appraisal, but they'll come back with an appraisal and they'll give it to the judge. Just say the property's worth $100,000. Judge say fine. Judge sets a date for the share sale. Okay, he looks at all the documentation. He looked at everybody that filed their response. He said, we're going to set a date to sell this thing 2 weeks from now. And he sets the date. When that date comes, that property is going to be sold at the auction, starting at 2/3% of whatever that appraisal was. It's going to bid, and the highest bidder is going to win that deal. And so the highest bidder wins the bid. He turns around in 24 hours. He goes and put 10% down. If he bid 100,000 and he was the winning bid, he has to put $10,000 down within 24 hours. Okay. Now, 3 to 4 weeks later, the judge said he's going to have another hearing, and the hearing is going to say that he's going to confirm that sale. If the owner of record has not stood up, has not paid that thing off, has not done anything, the judge is going to say, this is the last possible opportunity for you to stand up and say that you want to stop this sale. And the only way usually you're going to stop this confirmation sale is that you pay off the entire amount. Okay. So that is the pre-foreclosure timeline. Anybody got any questions on the timeline? All right. So why would I even be interested in pre-foreclosures, and why would the seller even be interested in selling their property to me? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and for me, the reason why I like this pre-foreclosure process is because it's a win-win for everybody. I win because I get a property that has equity in it and I get it for a discount. They win because they don't have to have a foreclosure on their record, and they also don't have 7 years of bad credit, right? And they get to move out of the property, right? And move on with their life. And for the most part, it's a win-win. So let me talk about why it's a win-win. I want to start why it's a win-win, because as the buyer, the cash buyer of the property from them, I'm taking all the weight off of them. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna be doing. First of all, I'm gonna stop the foreclosure process. I have an attorney. As soon as they say they sign a contract with me to buy the property for the amount that I have on my contract, I'm gonna notify my attorney. My attorney is gonna file what we call an appearance of entry into this case and say, I now represent so-and-so in this case. Okay, so we're gonna stop, or well, I say stop. We're gonna slow down or delay the foreclosure process by up to maybe 30 days. Okay, so that's going to help them. We're going to pay off their loan balance, right? If I do my research right and we find out what the payoff is on this account, and it leaves me, the payoff is, let's say, is 60,000. The house I know is really worth 100,000. Then this is going to be a good deal for me. I'm willing to pay off that $60,000 loan. I'm going to pay all their late fees, all their attorney fees, all their court costs. They're not going to have to pay any of that. And then I'm going to purchase the property as is. That means they're not going to have to make any repairs on the property. And I'm going to close it in 7 to 10 days because I got the cash to do that. I don't have to wait and go to a bank and get a loan and try all that. No, I ain't got to do all that. I have the cash to buy the property. You let me know when the title work is done, I'm ready to close. I'm going to make all the repairs. You ain't got to worry about making no repairs, Mr. Seller. Yeah, I don't care if it's run down. I don't care if the air conditioning ain't working. I don't care if the roof needs. I don't care. You don't have to make any repairs. I'm here to solve your problem, baby. And I'm going to pay all cash with no contingency. I'm not going to say it's contingent upon me getting an inspection. I'm not going to say it's contingent upon you doing this, you doing that. I don't care about none of that. I'm going to take this property off your hand, and I'm going to have a check when we go down to the title company and buy that property from you. And look what I'm going to do I'm also, if you really want to stay in this property, and I just did this on the last one that I bought. I bought the property, turned around the very next day and rented it to her. So she's just going to stay there in the property. So I can help you stay in the property. You don't even have to move. You can turn around and rent it from me. And then I'll even, if you do have to move to another property, and I've got enough equity in the property, I'm willing to help you move into your new property. I might even pay your deposit and your first month's rent to help you along your way. Come on now. This is a win-win situation. Look at all that I'm doing for them. Why would they not do this? A lot of them won't, because they got their head in the ground. They're probably, they don't want nobody to know that they're in foreclosure. They don't want to put it on the market. They just want to be, just go away quietly. And all the time, they're missing out on all this stuff that I'm willing to do for them. But if they're willing to listen, for them, they don't have any more stress. They won't have a foreclosure on their credit for the next 7 years. They won't have to make any repairs to the property. They don't have to pay any realtor fees, commissions. They don't have to pay any late fees, attorney fees, none of that. They don't have to pay any closing costs. And they get to stay in their property if they choose to. Come on, somebody. This is a win-win situation for everybody. Any questions, any comments before we go on? All right.
So I got a question, Mr. Ray.
Yes.
So have you had any like odd request as far as them saying like, well, I have to stay in the house for so long, or just anything that you know, any other ways that they want to, you know, or something like that, where because I've seen one recently like that where they were saying they had already a renter in there or something. They would have let the, well, this is a foreclosure, but I'm saying like buying a property with some stipulations that someone can stay in the house for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. And that's one of the things though I negotiate up front. Okay, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you want to stay here for a couple of months. I'm fine with that. So we'll sign a contract and it'll say that you get to stay here free for 2 months to get yourself in order. But after that 2 months, if you haven't leave, I will, as the owner of the property, evict you from the property. Yeah, so yeah, they'll have different kind of requests that they'll have. You know, will you help me with this, or can you do that? And you just have to look at the amount of money or amount of equity that they have in the house. The more equity they have in the house, the more you're willing to work with them. So yes, they will ask to stay. Again, in the case of this last one, she wanted to stay, and I said, yeah, you can stay, but you got to pay me rent. And so she was willing to sign a lease agreement. She put down a deposit, and I treat her just like any other tenant.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, keep going. So how are you going to get these properties, Mr. Ray? Well, I'm going to use 2 ways right now that I'm going to get a hold to them. I'm either going to use cold calls, or that's just finding their number and then giving them a call and asking them if they're interested in selling the property. And I'm also going to use direct mail. I'm just going to mail a letter to them directly and say, hey, I introduce myself, Mr. Ray. Are you interested in selling your property? I can make you a cash offer, and then I'll go through, you know, all this stuff about here's what's in it for you, and here's how I can help solve your problem, because it's all about providing them solution to the very big problem that they have, in that they're getting ready to lose their home. Okay. So cold calling, what does that look like, Mr. Ray? How do you do cold calls? Okay, so here's the process for doing cold calls. First of all, I got to develop the list of who are these pre-foreclosed properties. Yeah, right. Where's the list of those? Where do I find that list? Well, I find it within PropStream, a service that I pay for on a monthly basis. You can actually go down to the county and you can ask them, give me a list of all the properties been for, but it'll be a list that you won't even be able to query or do anything. So you got to first get the list. And then when you get the list, you got to take that list down and you got to figure out which properties are in foreclosure. And for me, I only want single family homes. I only want them if they got 30% equity or more. And I don't care whether they're owner or non-owner occupied, right? And it doesn't really matter to me. So, but I gotta have that list. So I got my list and I get that out of PropStream. You've been with me, you know, well, I've shown you PropStream. It is the best system out there that you can get all the information about any property that you want anywhere in the world, right? And then I got to take that list, once I got that list, and I got to skip trace it. I got to find out if I want to make a call to them, I gotta use a skip tracing service to find out what their telephone number is. At the same time, I'm gonna be able to call them, text them, and I'll get their email and I'll email them. So I want to be able to notify them and gauge their interest in selling their property. Again, I got my leads. I skip traced it. Now I'm going to start calling my leads, right? And then I'm going to qualify them, right? How do you qualify them, Mr. Ray? Well, I want to really understand what they are they really motivated or not? So I want to gauge their motivation. I want to try to find out what the condition of the property is, get some idea around, what they're wanting to get for the property from a price standpoint. And then, how fast do they want to move? They want to stay a little while, whatever. Usually these people are, by the time I'm contacting them, they're only, 30, 60 days from the house going to the sheriff's sale. So the closer you get to the sheriff's sale, the more motivated they become because the clock is ticking, right? The clock is ticking and this property is going to be sold and the sheriff's going to show up on your door and he's going to tell you, get out of your property, and the new owner is going to change the locks on you. That's going, and most people that I talk to a lot of times, they don't believe it's going to happen. They really don't. Oh no, they're going to redo my loan. They're going to do this. I'm going to find somebody, they're going to buy it. And then you get all these different excuses, but they really don't understand. If you don't come up with that money, these people are not playing. They are going to take your house. I don't care how long you've been living there. I don't care how many payments you made. I don't care about none of that. The sheriff will show up. I've seen him do it. Show up on your doorstep and put you out of that house. It's going to happen. And so you just have to convince them that, hey, look, I'm here to help you. What can I do to help you, right? And I'm not above, it's not my goal to get people thrown out of their house. If I can help them, stay in the house, I will. But usually at this point, they don't have any money to pay, and I can't pay it for them, but I can help you find somewhere else, or I can buy it and rent it to you. I can do some of these things for you. But outside of that, you're gonna have to leave this property. So that's one way, cold calling. The other way I'm gonna do is direct mail. Again, I'm gonna find a list of properties. Again, I'm looking for ones with equity. I only want single family homes right now. I'm not looking for apartments, anything like that. Single family home does include duplexes, fourplexes, and things like that, right? And or landlords that are just tired of fooling with them. I'm looking for all that. So I'm gonna take that list. And I showed you guys this last week. I'm gonna export that list to an Excel spreadsheet, and then I'm gonna prepare a letter, and I'm just gonna merge those files, and I'm gonna send those letters out, okay? And one thing about direct mail is you got to send out, and this whole business is, you got to send out a lot of mail and you got to make a lot of calls to get a few deals. I mean, it's just the nature of this business. You're going to get told no 99% of the time. You say, Mr. Ray, what? That sounds like a waste of time. No, it ain't, because all it takes is one. All it takes is one good deal, and you're making $20,000, $30,000, and $40,000. And you spent some time, yes, and you spent a little money mailing, and you spent some money skip tracing. You may spend $1,000 or $2, but you're going to get the maximum in just one deal. And it takes, like for direct mail, you probably got to send out $2,000 or $3,000 pieces of mail to get, like maybe 5 or 10 people to call you back. And out of that 5 or 10 people, you're only going to get one deal. That's just the nature of it, right? But it's worth it if you do it right. And again, you're just trying to get the homeowners to respond to you so you can gauge their interest in selling. We call those leads. Once they call you back, that's a lead. Now you got to be able to convince them, first of all, that you can do what you say you can do, right? And a lot of times it's about getting them to trust you, right? You have to be one that comes across as trustworthy, because I promise you, you're not the only person calling. They probably done got 10,000 letters and all kind of mail. And so you say, how are you going to distinguish yourself? Well, they got to see you as being trustworthy. And so for me, it's all about building a rapport. It's all about building a relationship. I mean, just letting them know clearly, I'm here to help you. If I can't help you, you know, fine. If you want to put it on the market, I'll help you put it on the market. Whatever I can do to help you is fine. But at the end of the day, I will have a solution for you if you want me to. All right. Again, then I'm gonna qualify them based on how motivated are they, what's the condition on the property. Now, all deals are not gonna be good. I go in and look at the property, or I say it's gonna need too much work, or it's half burnt down, you know, the house lean, it's got foundation in. All the time it doesn't work. But when it does work, it works well. So I'm going to be spending some time over the next couple of weeks talking about the whole process around getting these pre-foreclosures. You know, we're going to talk today. If I have time, not going to have time today. So next week, what we're going to do is I'm going to start taking you through some of the scripts. How do we talk to these individuals? How do you answer their questions? You know, how do you, when they put up roadblocks, when they tell you, you know, how do you respond to help get these people to get the confidence in you to sell the property? All right, that's all I got. Questions, comments? What is going on? Y'all been awfully quiet today. Awfully quiet.
It's because you're doing a great job explaining this one.
I guess so. There you go. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I must be doing a good job. Let's see. Y'all don't have any other questions? I got a couple of things I can show you. I had the big one tenant.
Hi, Mr. Ray, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if I don't know, if there's like statistics or something you've come across about like how many touch points, you know how like in business they'll say you have to make X number of touch points before you can close a sale. Is there like a right touch point before you can, I guess, close a potential deal?
Yeah, like for direct mail, you got to send out about 2,000 to get 2 deals. So 2,000 pieces of mail will get you 2 deals. But those 2 deals could get you $20 to $40, $60,000. And you may have only spent $500 on sending out those 2,000 pieces of mail. So statistics say that from a percentage standpoint, if you're getting anywhere from 1 to 3% response, then you're getting good response. Now on cold calling, it's different depending upon, you know, how precise you get on your cold calling. I don't know what the statistics are, but again, it's going to be around 1 to 5%. Depending upon how well you present yourself, depending upon what you're, you know, sometimes you just never know why people respond. Do you have the right piece of mail? What's it look like? What's your voice sound like? I mean, there's a lot of different things, but 1 to 3% is probably going to be good for a hit rate. Anybody else know anything different? Let me know. I know, Tiffany, you've had some, or you've been around some of the wholesalers. Can you give us maybe some insight on that?
Yeah, you have the percentages right. It's usually about 1 to 5%. And even with the cold calling, you probably have better results with the letters, you know, to get them to call. But once they call, you have to be on your game as far as what you say to them.
Absolutely.
Because you got to keep in mind, there's so many other people sending them letters as well.
Absolutely. So I got, last week, I bet I got 10 pieces. People sending me, wholesalers sending me stuff because they know I'm a landlord. They know I'm in the business. They know I own houses. They find out I own these houses. I get pictures of my, hold on, I got one here, the other. What is this one? Hold on, let me show you what I got. So they'll send this one, like I got this one. There's a picture of my house. 406 Draper Drive. Hey, Juice Properties, my name is Max. I'm a local investor and I've helped 200 people with property relief. I want to buy your property at 406 Draper. I can pay cash. I close super fast without repairs, inspections, the same thing I just told you. I get 20 of these a week. So yeah, it's everybody's out here doing this. You got to somehow get your piece of paper, get
But
them.
those are your properties.
Huh?
But those are your properties that you own. How do they miss the fact that it's owned by like a company and not an individual? I guess I would think that would have come up when they're looking at it.
They know that this property is owned by me and I'm a landlord. They're guessing, or they wanting me. Hopefully, I'm a landlord that's tired. They seen I own this property for 20 years. They may say, well, he's probably tired of it. And so some people, they just go after landlord properties. That's what they do. I go after pre-foreclosures. Some people just go after landlords. A lot of landlords
Really?
trying to sell their properties.
And
Yeah.
that's actually a thing though, but you would think landlords wouldn't be as, I don't know if desperate would be the right word, as
A
opposed to
lot
like.
of landlords are desperate because during COVID, they wasn't getting no rent. People weren't paying their rent. And so this is a great opportunity for them to sell. Prices are high, people ain't paying rent. I might as well cash out. I actually sold 2 of my properties last year. So we do sell our properties. And some of them just want to get totally out of the business because they've been in for so long. So that's just another target list that people go after, and I'm on that list. Some of you all probably get some of these too on your property. Anybody else get any of these?
I have, interestingly enough.
See, so you're on the list too. And what it is, you may have equity in your house. So they'll pull all the list of people that have equity, right? If you got equity in your house, they okay. And you live in this certain neighborhood and they want to buy in that neighborhood, you come on the list, you're gonna get a letter.
But you know what didn't make sense? I bought this house and I haven't even owned it for a year.
Yeah.
And it was like, as soon as it closed, seemed like a couple months later, I'm receiving a couple of these letters. I did actually buy with equity.
Yeah.
And then there was an upshot in the market. So maybe I don't know.
Equity. You got equity, and that's what they're after. So you show up on the list that you got 20-30% equity in that property, and you might just want to, you may have lost your job. You may have gone through a divorce. For whatever reason, they want to put their name in front of you as a possibility to buy your house.
Yeah, I'm actually getting text messages from people. I'm like, how do you get my number? But hey, it's like just a constant bombardment with it. I'm like, I see. I'm like, it got to be lucrative, or else people wouldn't be doing it. They wouldn't.
Exactly.
They wouldn't do it for nothing.
Exactly. Because if they don't get you, they may get the next one. It's like scammers, man. Scammers, they miss 90% of the time, but all they need to do is get that one little old lady and they just want to clean her account out. So it's a numbers game. And that's all this is wholesaling is a number game. You just got to get it out there for the right person at the right time. It's going to pick up the phone, or going to answer that email, or going to answer that text, or going to answer that letter. That's all you're looking for. It's a numbers game.
You know, Mr. Ray, what I haven't heard too often, or I don't think I've heard it at all, are sending automated robots like phone calls.
Yeah, well, they've outlawed a lot of that. And so they don't allow robots to do that. And the telephone companies, and they've already picked up on some of this. And so they've got do not call lists. So there's some laws around being able to just mass send those texts out, mass send those, there's laws against that, and they will fine you $1,500 per offense. And so a lot of these big companies, they could do it easy. They got the money to do it, but they won't do it because there's laws against it. All right, what else we got? Oh, I was gonna show you, so I got a property that I just had to take it back over. Had to evict the individual for non-payment. So again, I always like to show you guys how they leave your property sometime and why it's important that you get deposits. Let's see here. So this property is 1221 McGregor Drive in Midwest City. Hold on here, 1221 McGregor Drive, 3-bed, 1-bath, 1-car garage. And I've been trying to get her out of this house for the last, they left the vehicle here, old beat up vehicle. Of course, they left junk everywhere. Finally got the eviction and she just abandoned the property. Property wasn't in bad shape, so I'll be able to go in, fix it up. Probably about $5,000 is what I'm gonna put into it. Paint it, the floors are in good shape. Probably, the floors are great shape. Clean up the cabinets, repaint them. Of course, clean up all the junk. I've already got my cleanup crew over there, and they've been working for the last 2 days. So this thing will be cleaned up, cleaned out. And the great thing about this, now I told you all I wasn't going to do Section 8, but I'm going to do Section 8 on this property because it's in a tough neighborhood. And Section 8 is now paying for 3 bedrooms, they're paying $1,200 a month. I was getting $700 a month for this property. I own this property free and clear. So I'll be cash flowing over $1,000 even after I pay taxes and insurance. But it looks like a crackhead was looking in here. So I got to tell you the story. So they moved out and I go over to claim the property and there's a guy in the house. I'm like, who are you? He's like, oh, they told me that I'm here to clean up the property and she asked me to clean up. I said, no, you need to get out of here. I'm gonna give you a day to get out of here. I came back the next day, he's still there. Oh, I'm still cleaning up the property, da, 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 da. I called the police, 911, got somebody trespassing on my property. He runs out the property, runs down the street, he's gone. So that was interesting to say the least. But this property, it'll be a nice property. Like I said, I got a little work to do on the floors. I'm gonna paint this paneling. The windows are good, whole 9 yards. So stay tuned for the latest, greatest update when I get that one up. So I'm gonna do Section 8. Now remember I told you guys, I don't do Section 8. I don't like Section 8. I don't like the inspection process, but when they're paying $1,200 a month for 3 bedrooms, I'm gonna give it a try. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just fix it all the way up. I'm going to make sure that it's in great condition. If they come by and fail it, it's gotta be for something small. So I'm gonna be very selective in the tenant. One of the things on Section 8, you gotta make sure that they have their voucher already. Their voucher's approved and they have to be approved for the number of bedrooms that they want to rent. So it has to be approved for the $1,200 and for the 3 bedroom. And I want to make sure that Section 8 is paying all their rent and the tenant's not paying any. So stay tuned for how I'm going to do that. I'll take you through that Section 8 process. Any questions before we end up? All righty. So next week, I'm gonna start showing you how we talk to these customers. So I'm gonna have some scripts, and I'm gonna show you all the objections that they raise, and we're gonna talk through some of them. I might even make a couple of calls live so you can hear how I talk to them. Okay. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we are done for the day. I will see you again next week. Have a great day.